YouTube. So today we're going to be doing something a little bit different on my channel, and I feel like I've been saying that every single time I've uploaded something new to this channel recently, but this idea came to me while I was watching Brizzy Voices do something similar on her channel, where her and another YouTuber were sorting characters from movies or TV shows into Hogwarts houses. And anyone who knows me knows that I'm a big fan of Harry Potter. So when I saw that, I was like, this is right up my alley. I could do this. This is fun. And so I was making the attempt to, write things down in a notebook where I was like, oh, this show would work, and I've had a PowerPoint made. I have my notes here on my iPad, and I got lazy some days where I was gonna do it, and then I was like, nah, I'll do it another day. Or there were days where I was just so busy that I just didn't have the time. And now that we're in quarantine, I was like, we should just do it. And so this video is coming. For those who are unfamiliar with the world of Harry Potter, Hogwarts is the school that teaches magical kids how to be wizards. And upon entering the school, you are sorted into one of 4 houses, which is Gryffindor, Hufflepuff, Ravenclaw, or Slytherin. Each house has characteristics that represent them. So, for example, Gryffindor is usually associated with bravery. Hufflepuffs are usually loyal, Ravenclaws are smart, and Slytherins are ambitious. And so if you have those qualities within yourself, then you're likely to be sorted into the house that most matches what you are. And in the books and movies, it gets kind of messy because there's ways to influence which house you get into, but we're not going to delve into that. That's not what this video is about. We're here to sort specifically just based on traits and actions that these people or characters have that would demonstrate what house they would be put into. So let's get started. So the first person that we're going to sort into their Hogwarts house is Joey Tribbiani, and I placed him in Hufflepuff. I believe he's a Hufflepuff because he demonstrates the qualities of being loyal to friends and family. He's kind-hearted. He has a very high tolerance for things that are upsetting and annoying, which means he has really good patience. Friendship is very important to him. He's tenacious, and he's fair about the way he goes about things. And primary examples of where you can see this in the show are where he buys the old Christmas trees from the lot where he works and brings them and dresses them up and decorates them so that they'll fulfill their Christmas destiny so Phoebe can be happy. And while it's kind of silly to him and to the others, he realizes how important it is for her and that it'll make her happy. And so that's basically why he does it. It shows that he has a very kind heart and that he's loyal to her. He's a struggling actor throughout the entire show, and while there's times where he feels like he wants to stop and just give up, he doesn't, and he keeps going and he works hard to get what he wants and to be where he wants to be. And I guess the main example I'm going to use is where Chandler kisses Kathy. And for those of you who don't know Friends, Kathy was Joey's girlfriend that Chandler ends up falling in love with. And instead of telling Joey that he has feelings for his girlfriend and that he kissed his girlfriend, he ends up trying to buy him off. And when everything comes out, Joey's super hurt by everything, and he makes Chandler stay in this box throughout the whole episode until he says he can come out. And it shows the high tolerance, for one, because this is something that's just, you don't do that to your best friend, you know what I mean? Like, you tell them. You don't just hide it and hope it doesn't come out. And because that loyalty and that friendship was tested, he decided to test him and put them in the box. That's all Joey wanted, was to know if he could trust him enough to be a friend, to have that loyalty in the future. And I feel like that's the whole epitome of why Joey's a Hufflepuff right there. He's very patient with the situation. He puts the friendship above everything else, which is a good friend would have done this, a good friend would have done this. If you're a good friend, you're going to listen to me right now and do it. So the second person we're going to sort into their house is Phoebe, and she's a Ravenclaw Gryffindor. I decided to put her in 2 houses. She's our first mix, just because when I was doing my research and looking at the traits, she had traits of both houses, and it could have gone either way, but whenever I watch the show, every time Phoebe comes on the screen, I instantly think of Luna Lovegood, and so I was like, you need to be a Ravenclaw, no matter what the traits say. Traits that I believe she has: bravery, confidence, creativity. She lives in the moment, she's honest, sometimes blunt, she's unique, and she's smart, maybe not in a traditional sense, but she's smart in her own way, and like I said, she gives off a Luna vibe. Some prime examples from the TV show are, she always talks about being a street kid and growing up on the streets, and pretty much growing up with nothing, and that is terrifying. Anywhere. That's terrifying to do anywhere, but especially in New York, of all places. I mean, she had to learn how to be brave, she had to learn how to be street smart, and she had to learn how to be confident in her decisions. Also, probably living in the moment too, because on the street anything could happen at any time, and you have to be ready. She writes songs for the coffee shop and ends up performing them in said coffee shop. And as a performer, that's pretty nerve-wracking, especially because she's putting out something that she herself has written. It's not like she's performing covers. You know, she's putting herself out there. And that takes a lot of guts, it takes confidence. Definitely she has her creativity. It takes bravery. And she tells her friends off about how they're judging her date for having that zest for life. And I remember the group of friends are making fun of him, and she just went up to them and told them off. Told them off her honest feelings, and then she ripped into each one of them about how they had no right to judge him based off of decisions that they made. She also realized that Ross was still in love with Rachel when he didn't get their marriage annulled. But that's Phoebe. Third person is Chandler Bing. And Chandler is a Hufflepuff. I put him in Hufflepuff because he has the traits of loyalty. He's hardworking, he's kind, he's compassionate, he cares a lot about friendship, and he's dependable. Some examples from the show are when he talks to Rachel during her parents' divorce. It's the episode where she has to have 2 birthday parties because her parents can't stand to be in the same room with each other, and understands what she's going through because his parents are divorced as well. He's just very kind and open. You know, he puts that friendship up there because we all know he uses humor as a coping mechanism, and he tries to be serious for her because he knows that's what Rachel needs. He loses at cups to help Joey pay for his rent. He knows that Joey goes through a hard time with his acting career, and he is moving across the hall to live with Monica, and so on their last night he tries to help with, you know, paying rent, and Joey is too proud to accept it, so he comes up with a game that's super fake and it's a way to get Joey the money that he needs, and he doesn't have to do that, you know. It just shows that he's very kind, that he's trying to be a good friend, you know, he's trying to be loyal to the situation. The fourth person on my list is Monica Geller, and I put her in Slytherin. Traits that I think she has are: she's ambitious and driven, she's determined, she's a perfectionist, she thrives on positive feedback and praise, and she's cunning and assertive. Examples of where you can see this in the show are the Geller Cup. She plays hella dirty in that episode the entire time. She doesn't care what she has to do or what she has to squash, but she's walking away with that trophy. Another example is when she makes the chocolate for the neighbors. She does it to get to know them better, and it starts off that way, but they start giving her positive feedback, and she does it after a while just so she can get the feedback and so that they like her. Same can be said when she gets a negative review of her restaurant. She makes this thing and goes down to where the guy that wrote the review is so that he can retract it after he tastes what she made. And she takes control of Phoebe's wedding. I mean, let's just say Phoebe's wedding. But she's the maid of honor, and she tries to take control of everything. And while she does a good job of that, and it's shown in the episode that Phoebe didn't really have a good handle on how organized everything had to be. It's a thing of just like, she tried so hard just to make things go her way. But she realizes the error of her ways, and Phoebe also realizes that she did need her, so it's a catch-22 there. And that's Monica. Crazy, ambitious, driven Monica. We're almost there, bear with me just for a few more moments. The fifth person is Ross Geller, and I put him down as a Slytherin Ravenclaw. Some people might be shocked that he's in Slytherin, but it's not really shocking when you think of his personality and the traits that come with that. So he's analytical and smart and fond of intellectual discussion and realistic like a Ravenclaw, but he's also cunning and ambitious and selfish and traditional like a Slytherin. Some examples of this in the show are when he doesn't tell Rachel that they're still married. He's selfish because he thinks that by having Rachel and him together for such a long period of time that she'll fall in love with him again, which might have happened, but you know, she found out and it wasn't worth all that anger and resentment. And another example is when Phoebe doesn't believe in evolution. He can't accept that they just have different views of how the world came to be. He has to prove her wrong. That's your friend. Why are you trying to force her to believe what you believe? You know, it was one of those things. Another example is when he had issues with a male nanny. He had a very traditional idea that male can't be in a job that's most females have, and that if he is in that job field, then that person has to be gay, which wasn't the case because the nanny was straight. He had Rachel fire said nanny because he was uncomfortable with the idea of having one that was male. But by doing that, it was also selfish because everyone liked him but him, and he was good at his job. It was a thing of like, your co-parent likes him, your friend likes him, and your daughter likes him. Like, you just fired a perfectly good nanny just because you're uncomfortable with the idea of something not being in the traditional sense. His knowledge of dinosaurs is a good example of his intellectualism. He can have long discussions about it, and he had that speech, I think it was season 8 or season 9, about, you know, dinosaurs and everything, and it just shows how smart he is because he has such an in-depth view of that world. Another thing that I wanted to point out was him being jealous of Rachel and Mark when they weren't even a thing. And this one gets tricky because then it starts going into that whole, my next point, which is that we were on a break. I mean, it was sort of realistic because it happens more than you think in the world. You know, you spend so much time with this one person that you think feelings develop, you know? But it was one thing, it's like, you need to trust your girlfriend. If she says something's not going on, something's not going on, you know? And he was trying to send her all these things. He was trying to be cunning about it. He was trying to be swift about it. And it was just annoying after a while. It was kind of like, dude, you're just making yourself look worse because you're not trusting her. When she tries to get back at him by going on one date with Mark. It's the thing of just like, she couldn't even do it because it would have been wrong and she didn't feel that way, and you know, she had all those emotions, and it's like, she's still loyal to you even if you're not dating her. Like, dude, there was nothing going on between them. Which brings me to my next point, but I'm gonna wait till we get to this last person to go through that, because the we were on a break thing requires, for me at least, a lot of explanation. So the final person that we're going to be talking about here and sorting into their house is Rachel Green, and I sorted her into Slytherin, Gryffindor, and traits that I believe she has are bravery, courage, a strong moral compass, so she has a strong sense of right and wrong, and she is ambitious and driven as well as determined. Some of the places where you can see this in the show are when she pursues her career of fashion, and she goes from being a "Daddy, can I have your credit card?" to running a fashion company. And as far as I'm concerned, Rachel has probably the biggest character growth in the show, because those are two different people, and she did whatever it took to get to where she wanted to be. She worked at a coffee house that she hated because she wanted to pay her dues. She worked at an intern job to pay her dues. She worked at a higher intern job, which is kind of more where she wanted to be, and paid her dues, and then she ended up helping run a fashion company after that. And it was where her Slytherin and Gryffindor worked out for her, because her Slytherin made her ambitious and driven enough to not give up and to keep going, and she was determined enough to get to where she wanted to be. But her Gryffindor made sure she did it the right way and not looked for instant gratification. And I feel the same thing happened in where we first meet Rachel, which is in the coffee house in her wedding dress after she fled Barry at the altar. And first of all, it takes a lot of bravery to do that, because you're walking out in front of your family, his family, your friends, and you have to have enough courage to follow through with those plans. And she did it because she knew it would lead to an unhappy marriage, and it wasn't what she wanted, that it was being pushed onto her. Okay, so I filmed this separate from the last one just because I'm going to the "we were on a break" example, and this is something highly debated amongst Friends fans, and I knew that my explanation was going to be long and that my thoughts were going to get chopped up somewhere. And I want to start off by saying they both did it for selfish reasons. Someone had to be right and someone had to be wrong. And they took a relationship that could have been rekindled and going the entire time, but they tarnished it because they were too stubborn to listen to the other person. And this is, for the record, this is just what I think happened. It's just my opinion, so if you have a different opinion than me, I'm not going to be hurt by it. So Ross's whole thing was, we were on a break, which is considered a breakup, and I didn't know if we were going to get back together. Technically, yes, a break is a breakup. And I'm guessing there's some things that go into if we were on a break when you're not in a big fight, like maybe some rules or connotations are put in place, and maybe like a date of when they would start again. I'm not too sure, but I'm assuming that's what happens. Like, those things are discussed. It was also a thing of him saying that he didn't know they were gonna get back together or not. It's, my thinking was, you just had a fight. It's something that you can work past. You guys are both emotional. Just give her some time. And she did call, but he, and this is where Mark comes back in, he didn't trust her and thought that she was with Mark and didn't give her a chance to explain. Which is a good point that she brings up to him later on when they discuss what he did. So, I'm getting off topic. So his whole thing was because they were broken up, he shouldn't be blamed for what he did. Rachel's whole perspective was more of an emotional one, and I can understand from my perspective what I think happened with Rachel in her point of view was that if their relationship was so important to Ross, he wouldn't have slept with someone hours after they had this fight. You know, it wasn't like he waited a week or a month. It was hours after they had this fight. And he didn't understand that it hurt her that way. You know, he didn't see it as he did anything wrong. And not even acknowledging her feelings about that is something that pissed her off even more. And she brings up, like I said, that point with Mark. If it was her and she slept with Mark, and he knew she slept with Mark, would he be able to forgive her? And he says he would, but I really don't think he would have. After everything that he did to pretty much cock block them and make sure that at every turn she saw something that he had given her or whatever, like, he wouldn't have forgiven her. The fact that she trusted him and he did that just blew it out of proportion. And then the fact that he wouldn't acknowledge her feelings about it made it even worse. I don't know, that's just my opinion about it. If someone else can have a different opinion, that's fine. But as I said, they both did it for selfish reasons, and well, what can you do, Slytherins? But that's the end of the video. So if you liked it and want to see more of these type of videos, then put it in a comment down below. If you want to see some more flute covers in the future, let me know as well. I'm just trying to figure out what to do with this channel. As you can see, I'm doing a lot of different things, so if you want to see me try out something, just put it in the comments.